Hey everybody, Bob here with the Modeler's Workbench. Thank you so much for watching the videos, subscribing, and hitting the like button. Really appreciate that. So, I am going to build this Volmer kit. Um, it's a plastic kit. It's European in design, but I think it'll look good. And kind of in the back, maybe, of the layout. Um, so, yeah, I got some thoughts on like this cover photo that I'll talk about over at the workbench. Okay, so here's our kit, and one thing that I always struck me, it's kind of funny, I guess, but it's my own personal taste, is that a lot of plastic kits, when they would put their cover photo on, it doesn't look like they did anything to make this look really good. It looks just like unpainted, out of the box, put together, cover photo on it. Because I always say, if I was asked to build a plastic kit like this for the cover photo, I would certainly be painting all this and trying to make it look as realistic as possible. And I'm sure a lot of you folks out there would be doing the same thing. Um, you know, before before I was inspired by George Celios's work on his Franklin and South Manchester, I mean, before that, um, was in high school. I had my first layout with just a sheet of plywood, that grass mat on it in an oval, shape, and putting plastic kits together. Um, that was probably when I was around 12, 13 years old. And then I, kind of didn't do anything. And then I got back interested in it again in high school. Um, and around that time, what inspired me the most was this edition here of Model Railroader. Back in the days when this magazine was relevant. I find it totally irrelevant now. There's zero inspiration in Model Railroader, in my opinion. But this is from September 85. I had a subscription to this magazine, and this here is the Fitchburg and Southbridge Railroad by Mike Tylick, who Mike Tylick's a funny guy, and I just love talking to him, and I'm very fortunate that, I was able to eventually meet him at railroad shows, pretty much the Springfield show, and I asked him about how this railroad really inspired me to um, elevate my modeling skills and be more realistic. And yeah, he said this no longer exists, which is a shame. This, I wish, of course, there were more pictures back then in these magazines, but the work that Mike did, it just looks so nice. And again, this is before the Franklin and South Manchester, and I was just really taken by Mike's work on this railroad. So that being said, when I do kits like this, I look at it and I say, okay, I want to really make this look realistic, instead of just this plastic kit. And I think a kit like this has a lot of potential, even though it is European, for us here if we're modeling in the United States. Now, there are some things here like these lamps obviously do not look good, so I would not use those. And some of these surrounds here, which are going to be brick, I think if we got close to the same color as the wall brick, will look better. Window mullions on kits like this are obviously a lot thicker, so when you run into stuff like that, use a darker color for the windows, like a black or a dark brown or a dark rust. The mullions will tend to not look as thick if you do that. Here's our stonework for the foundation. It does have a texture to it, and the mortar lines are on the deep side, which is going to be to my advantage because I want to try to put like a rougher texture on this here to make it look like stone, and I think that I can do that. Again, windows will probably be painted a darker color. I don't know how much of this decorative stuff I'll use. I probably will use some of it. You know, if you look at buildings in the US from days gone by, they definitely were a lot more decorative in nature and had a lot more European influence in their design. So things like that would not be out of place with older buildings. So the bricks here on the plastic, I think nowadays they definitely do much better brick detailing. But I think with a structure like this, setback, I mean, if it's just 2 feet setback off your layout and painted well with a mortar wash, I think this will look fine. And the plastic is very clean. The detail work, this kind of dental style molding here looks great. I think that should look really nice. These are those different type of stone surrounds on the windows. I mean, I'm kind of thinking of painting these kind of the same brick color rather than stone. I don't want to have that much of a difference in color between these and in the plastic. So I think if I maybe keep them close to the same color as the brick, it'll look better to me. I guess they bag these parts because they're small and would probably be running all over the inside of the box. But there's some more parts here. So yeah, this roof here, we could probably put some rolled roofing. It looks like it's got little raised ribs on it. I'll see how I feel when I get to the roof to do that. The instructions, multiple languages. There's the English, but you know, kits like this always use the universal language of pictures, drawings in this case. So not too complicated a build. You know, kind of shows you where things go. Not a very big structure. It looks like if you wanted to, you could order Volmer light kits for these things. There's a lot of aftermarket lighting things nowadays that and a lot more inexpensive than, you know, kits that would come from a company like this to do it. So yeah, the first order of business with any plastic kit like this is to prime it. Usually the resin type stuff has a release on it that might be a little slimy or slippery that I would wash it, but this type of plastic here, the primer's going to stick to it. And I think that will be the first thing I'm going to do is get the walls ready for primer, get the windows all primered, and then we can start some construction. So in familiarizing myself with all the parts, and I always like to test fit walls and things together in the very, very beginning, I saw that you've got to take this piece here, and there are little pins and receiving holes, and this overlay has to be put on the wall. So I thought it would be a very good idea if I did that before I primed and painted. So that's what I'm doing now with these big walls here. So what I'm using is this Tamiya extra thin cement. I don't want to make a mess with glue, so I'm going to try to be real strategic in where I put the cement, and I'll hit them on the bottom pieces here, and then I'll go like in the inside corners, grab a little cement, and then on the edges I'll get those after, just so I don't make a mess of things. And I think that'll be fine for keeping this. The cement will keep this down. And I can just, with this thin cement, I can just kind of push it into a little area like that here in the corners, and just hold it down for a minute, let that set up, and that should be enough to go around and hold this piece down. It looks like I've got to do the same thing on these side walls with these overlay pieces. So I'm going to do that before I prime these walls. Okay, I have got to read to you the caution that came with this kit, because I find it very funny. So basically, this is a model building for experienced models and collectors. So you know, I guess if you're just starting out, don't do this one, right? So because you may be using sharp objects, it presents a risk of injury, so it's not meant for children. And upon completion, this product is designed to be installed with glue onto a model railroad layout. It is not a toy. I love this part. Only use the parts of this kit included. So don't be adding any aftermarket stuff to this kit. This is my favorite. Please wash your hands after modeling. That's great. This is a good one. Do not eat, drink, or smoke while doing the model. So, you know, no coffee, or, you know, I can't have my little Moxie on the side when I'm doing this. So, you know, it does say don't breathe any vapors from your paints. Of course, my old vapor paints are gone now. Unfortunately, I do miss them. So, yeah, I think this is funny. And the best part is, please keep these instructions safe. So, yeah, I thought you guys might find that funny. All right, so again, changing my mind about how I'm putting this together. I think I've said this before in other videos. Always, one of the best things you can do when putting any kind of kit together, whether it's plastic or wood craftsman, doesn't matter what it is, always think your steps ahead. So, you know, look at your instructions, think about how things are going to go together, dry fit stuff together in your hands. You know, kind of think forward. Initially, I was just gonna, you know, paint the walls before I put anything together. I looked and noticed that I've got to put these pilaster skins, say, over the wall, so I decided to cement those. And the more I thought about it, I said, you know, I should just put everything together. And then as a whole, because I want everything to be the same kind of brick color, and then do variations as a whole, prime the whole building. So I've got the two halves here put together, and I am going to also cement in these window surrounds here. And I'm going to do that everywhere. As far as the windows go, they're going to get primed and painted. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to use these doors or make my own. The windows I think will look okay. The doors I'm not so sure of. I'm going to address that down the road. These pieces here there are two pieces that get cemented together, and these will sit on the top of the walls here. But I don't think that I can do that because it looks like these two pieces get put into the roof, and then the whole roof gets set down onto the main building. So I'm going to hold off on those. I'll prime them. So what I'm going to do is cement the rest of the window surrounds and then get this whole thing put in and then primed. I'm using the Tamiya extra thin cement. I will say this plastic is on the harder side, so it takes just a little longer for it to melt and fuse together, unlike some of the softer plastics, which happen really fast. This seems to require a little extra time and me putting things together. So let me do that, and then I can move on to the priming phase of the build. All right, so I've got things primed. I had spoken about this primer that in an earlier video that I had purchased on Amazon. It's made from the Badger airbrush company. I don't even know the correct pronunciation of this. Stynylrez, maybe Stynylrez. Got on Amazon. It came in a 3-pack. Got white, gray, and black. Great price, and I wanted to try it because online it had really good reviews. And you don't have to thin this down straight out of the bottle in my airbrush. And I sprayed this at 25 psi. They say 20 to 30, so I put it at 25, and it worked well. It does dry a little bit in my airbrush cup, but I didn't have any clogging problems coming out of the airbrush. So I am really happy with it. I have to say, the black came out super flat. It laid down beautifully and very flat. So I was definitely happy with that, and as well as the gray. The gray came out really nice, flat, nice mist. I just went around and around with the gray. The particulates were fine, so it got into the little crevices that I needed it to get into. So I've got the main building, that gray as the underneath color for the brick. The gray will darken the brick color more than if I had just done this white. And then the windows, I started again with the black primer as an undercoat. What I want to do with the windows to start is put some like dark rust color on these, maybe a rust wash. I want them to stay dark. When you have the mullions that are thick, the dark will look the best. And then this primer put a nice surface on it, so I have no problems using craft paint from the Michaels craft paint, that sort of stuff. It'll stay on nice, I think, with this. So what I'm going to do is get my brick colors out. I think I might go with a darker color brick on this. I'll see what comes up. I never know how it's going to be at the end when I start doing the brick colors, because I'm going to use a bunch of different colors of the brick, a dark, a medium, maybe some yellow in there. And I'm going to do it with both a brush to get into these areas and then maybe a sponge. I need to do a mortar wash after, so I'll see how it comes out. And then the stone. This stone I had originally painted with the Krylon camo because it's a little thicker, and I was hoping to put more of a surface on this, and I think I'm going to also put a textured paint on this stone part. See if this will come out a little better. So yeah, that's the next step. Is let me break out my rust colors, brick colors, and see what this comes out like. Okay, so what I did was I used some heritage brick as, you know, as the base, and then I ended up mixing some of this. It's a little darker than the heritage brick, along with this bittersweet chocolate. So I kind of mixed like half and half just to kind of redden up the brown, and then I sponged that over, just randomly over the face here. Then as far as the bottom here, I did, you know, put this light texture paint on it. It's got like some fine sand in it. And after that, I painted it with this chalk paint. And after that was dry, I used my homemade brown wash, which is, you know, I guess they don't make that Micro Mark railroad tie brown anymore. I do have some bottles of that, but you can get pretty much, you know, kind of the same result by mixing something like this bittersweet chocolate with water, and just getting a brown wash, which I use for a lot of stuff. And then I just put that brown wash over the bottom here. And I think I'm going to have to do some powders also on this to kind of, a little red on here, kind of darken that up, roughen it up even more. I like the texture paint. I mean, obviously it's going to be hard to see in the camera, but it definitely takes away the smooth plastic look of something like this here, this foundation. I did spray this with dull coat, and I do that before I do my mortar wash because I don't want the mortar wash to wash or pink up with any of this water-based paint that's on here. The windows, after the black primer, I did sponge on some of that bittersweet chocolate on there. You know, they're going to stay dark in color. And then I put some brown wash on top of all of that. I think I'm going to use this door and this door. They're not too bad. They look like wood. These doors, I don't know. They're definitely very European looking. So I think I might try to maybe make some different doors. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with that. Because there's two doors here that those go on. The other thing that I'm thinking of is there's a door here. There's like a little balcony, but it's super small. I really don't know what the purpose of it is. And I'm kind of thinking of maybe putting a Tichy fire escape on here, but the fire escapes are big, so I may have to cut that down. I'm going to play with that when the time comes. So yeah, the next step's going to be the mortar wash on this here, which I just use powdered drywall compound, not the pre-mix stuff, but I like the powder because I can make a nice thin wash with it and wash it down. So I'm going to do that next and see what I'm looking at here. All right, so spoonful of this Easy Sand 5, just a spoonful, and then squirt a little water in it, and you know, make a thin wash. Cheap acid brush, and just put your mortar on, just like this. Going to be going on thick. I want to get into all of these mortar lines on the brick. Of course, when this dries, I'm going to have to take a damp paper towel and start wiping it, and then go back if I missed any lines or I want to get any more mortar in. I'll go back and keep working it till I'm happy with it. I think this step is what really makes brickwork look so much better on these kind of kits, plastic kits. When I was a kid, I remember one of the techniques was that you would paint, a plastic kit walls gray, and then try to dry brush the brick color on the face of the bricks. I remember doing that. And I remember thinking, wow, that looks really cool. This is just a better method, is to, get your brick colors done and then put a wash in for a mortar. It's definitely going to be, more work to clean the face, but in the end, it just looks so much better. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get all the easy sand down in here, and when this dries, believe me, this is all going to kind of turn white, because it does fade the bricks when you do this by putting that the mortar on the face of the bricks. This easy sand is going to fade that down, which I like the look of that. But it's going to take a little extra work to keep wiping the face of the bricks down to get it to the point where I'm happy with it. So that's what I'm going to do now, get this all done. Okay, so our mortar has dried, as you can see. Now it's time to start the wiping process. I like using, you can use a rag too, but as far as paper towels go, these are those like the shop rag paper towels that you can get at like Home Depot or Lowe's. Little stronger than a regular paper towel. And this is going to take a bit of water to start the wiping process on this. And I will also use like a toothpick sometimes to get into the corners here. But what you want to do is you just want to start wiping this off. And because I'm putting plaster on this, if you keep using the same spot, you're just going to be transferring that plaster to the other section. So you've got to kind of wipe a little bit. And then, I can see the plaster getting on this here, and then kind of moving the towel a little bit to another spot. And don't be afraid to, this towel's fairly wet. It's not like just a lightly damped towel, because this may take a few times to get this to the point that I like it. Once I start wiping this and it dries, it's not going to be as much as this, the unwiped one, but it will keep coming back, and you've just got to wipe it to the point where you're happy with how much mortar and fading that you like. So that's what I got to do. I got to wipe all this down, let it dry, take a look at it, do some more wiping. And again, any spots, sometimes you like in here where the rag can't get to, just wet a toothpick and get in there and kind of pull some plaster out of there. So you can do that at different places that the rag can't reach. So that's what I got to do, start the wiping process. All right, so probably about 4 or 5 wipings on the surface of this after the mortar to get it, knocked down off the face of the bricks. And I am going to go back with some weathering powder on this also to tone down the white. I got the windows, started to put the windows in. Here, I did, after the glazing was put on, I hit it with dull coat to kind of frost them up. On the doors, I'm using gallery glass on those small panes there, and I decided to use these doors just because I didn't want to go through the hassle of on this kit to make different ones, so I decided to use them. I kind of like this side of the structure to face out. So basically, the ones with the doors is actually going to be away from, facing away from the edge of the layout. But, detail all of your buildings. You never know, you might change your mind and turn them around or this and that. But I did paint the doors with some of this old wood paint, and then on top of that, I put a light avocado for the green. So the gallery glass is drying on that. The way that the roof goes together, I can't put both of these in because I'll never get the roof in. It goes in a slot in here. There were locating tabs on this, but they were pushing in a weird way these edges, so I cut those locating tabs off. And the other thing is there were also some locating tabs on the bottom that fit into the groove here, and they were a little too thick to seat down fully on this, so I had to sand those down, make them thinner. So the roof has to kind of slide into the notch on that, and then push down onto the slot, into the slot here. Then I can put this side in. After it's all said and done, then I have to kind of finagle this in to get that in. So that'll be the very end. I did put together some of the roof details, and then I'm kind of weathering them with some rust colors. This will sit on the top here. The chimney, the way that they have you do it is you take both of these and stack them on top, so you've got a real tall chimney. I kind of didn't like the look of that real tall chimney, so I just did one, and I'm starting to weather this up too, to make this look a little better to sit on the roof. So that's what I'm doing here. I got to get the rest of the windows in and the doors. And then the other thing that I did was I'm using the Tichy fire escape. These are kind of great to have in your stash, because if you're doing a structure and you just kind of want to add to it, one of the easiest things to do is just throw a fire escape on it, and it's kind of a cool extra detail. So this fire escape that I put together, and I really like these Tichy fire escapes. I really do. They go together pretty quickly with the cement. I primed it black, and I'll rust that up. And this, I was fortunate enough that it fits really nice on this side of the building. So here's the upper door. The way that the kit has it, there's a tiny, tiny little balcony. I mean, not even big enough for a HO scale figure to sit on. I don't know. It just didn't look right to me at all. So I'm going to put this on. This will sit below this brick part here like that. And I was fortunate again enough that it fits in between those windows, like this window and that door perfectly. So that'll get cemented on there after it's rusted up. I think that'll look nicer on the side. So yeah, that's what I'm working on now. I'll get all that together, and then we'll once I get that done, we'll move on to some final weathering of this structure. All right, so I just started putting this kit together, and I really wasn't looking at the instructions. And with that roof, I ended up having, when I put the roof down, I had this gap in this area uh, here, and then it dawned on me that, oh, there was some gutter pieces that I saw in the box. So basically what has to happen is you glue the gutter pieces underneath this edge of the roof on both sides, and then that will lift the roof up enough to match up close to the insides of these end pieces. And also, because this gets glued up underneath there, it will cover the seam. So once I did that, everything fit in better. You've got to take these pieces here, which I did spray with some khaki paint, and those get glued on the top here, and they'll they'll get kind of maybe a little weathered with my brown wash. And then I also had to go in here with some of the brick paint, and I'll darken that up a little bit too on these pieces that face it. As far as I talked about earlier, I want this side to be facing out. There's a set of plastic stairs that go here. They don't really look that good. So just as a quick thing to do, inexpensive to do, is I just cut some pieces of the rigid foam insulation on the wire cutter. I cut two pieces. I cut a base piece and then a top piece, glued them together. I sponged some of the texture paint on there, that terracotta texture paint. That's all I've done so far. This I'll put on that as a loading dock, and then I can just either I'll do concrete or a set of stairs. I haven't made up my mind yet, to go down in the front. It'll give me something extra to put some details on also. So again, just, I didn't want to spend a lot of time making a wooden loading dock, so I just went ahead and did that. I haven't put on the fire escape yet because I'll probably end up knocking it off. So I'm going to save that to the end to go on to the end here. The doors, they had some mounting holes to put these decorative metal pieces on, but I thought the metal piece, simulate metal decorative pieces, were out of scale. So I've been having to put something in there to fill the little holes up and go back and dab the paint in. Mostly in here is where the issues were. So I'm still working on these two doors here. And then I've got some top pieces of the roof put in. I haven't weathered the roof yet. So yeah, let me put these top pieces on, get them weathered, and then I think the next step I think I will put the fire escape on after that. All right, I am pretty much finished up with this kit build. Of course, once it's planted where I want it and extra details and scenery go around it, it makes it look even better. But I am happy with the way this kit came out. I wanted it, obviously, to not look like the picture on the box. Whenever I look at a kit, I try to use my imagination of, what it could look like or what I could do with it. I'm more interested in me, like, hey, the size of it. I like the walls. Everything else, I can modify or paint or make it just look like how I want it. The kit did go together quite well. I like the fit of everything. I like the engineering of everything, the way that it did go together. It's got a lot of details that I thought were quite nice. For instance, these caps here on the top of the wall being nice and thin and separate. Really nice. You can paint them differently, and then in being on the thinner side, they add to the realism of the caps on the top of that. So I did like that. I originally was not going to use the lamps because there was a big molded bead on the end of it. It looked so bad. And then when I looked at it, I said, well, I can just snip that end off and replace it with like what I usually do, which is a craft store bead. And that's what I did. So I painted them black and a little rust wash and then put the bead on it. And I think they came out nice. Being that I'm using the rear of the building as the front, I needed that loading dock. So the loading dock here made out of the foam. It was, drew some cracks in it, and then texture paint and just a little gray paint and a brown wash on it. I can probably put a little rust powders on the top of this. The stairs are just a wooden stair, that I put together for the side. I like the way the downspouts came out. Those looked good. I do like the idea that I came up with putting this fire escape on the side of it. I think it just adds to the building's character. And the kit came with just tiny little piece of plastic that goes on this door as, like a little balcony, but it was super small. And I just thought it looked on the silly side. So having this on there, I think looks a lot better. And you could always put something else, maybe a wooden platform up there, but as easily as these titchy ones go together and the way they look, I thought it would look better. The back of the building, which is the front, kit-wise, these stairs are just plastic stair one piece that come with the kit. I put the texture paint and, the concrete on it. The more I look at the building, the more I feel I need some more powders on this stone here. It doesn't look too bad right now, but I think a little extra powder, and I think when weeds are up against it, it'll look better. I did not use the decorative pieces on the front of these doors. They were out of scale. That, if you look at the kit box, it's these pieces right here. If they were, and I know that when you make things out of this plastic, you're limited at how thin it could be. But if they were like these laser cut pieces on cardstock, it would look better. But being plastic, they just were oversized, so I didn't put them on there. I didn't like the way they looked. And to be honest with you, it looks good leaving them off. The other modification that I did here was the fact that the chimney is two pieces and sticks way high up. I kind of didn't like that. I like the squattiness of just using one piece on the chimney. And this is kind of a neat way that the chimney goes together, because you've got a middle piece, then this bottom piece that gets glued in, and then this top cap. So I think Volmer did a nice job at making these things look really nice on a plastic kit. So again, going back to the engineering of the kit, I am happy. I really do think that this company does a nice job with the engineering and the way that they put things together. So yeah, this is the kit. I'll put some final photos on it. Again, I don't quite know where I'm going to put it. It's probably just going to be in the front of some other buildings. I don't really have to name it. There's plenty of buildings out there, if you drive around, that don't have any names on it, and you just, you know, what they're used for, who knows, right? A warehouse, storage, but it just looks kind of cool to have tons of buildings everywhere. So yeah, this is the Volmer kit. I think again, it was the first time I built one from this company, and I'm going to probably look and see what else they offer that I find intriguing. Okay, so yeah, we'll do some final picks, and thanks for watching.